Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up with Nick Appleyard earlier today, CEO at TriStar Gold, the Brazilian gold developer. We look at what they've been up to. They've doubled their inferred rate up to 1.5 million ounces. So new resource figures there. They've done some drilling, although assay results delayed. However, the market has not reacted to their story very kindly over the last 3 to 4 months, and we ask why. If you want our thoughts and opinions on that, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports and analysis. There's commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities, including gold. We've got training courses to help you with your own diligence process. We've also done summaries of all the interviews that we've done to save you some time because we know you're busy. So why don't you go and join a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas on these topics at cruxinvestor.com/club. And we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like. We appreciate it. Leave your thoughts below. Get back to everyone. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about with Nick today, do take a look in the description below. Nick, how are you, sir?
Very good, thanks. Very, very good.
Well, good to have you join us. It's pretty early there, so I do appreciate you getting up to have a little chat with us. How are you? How have you been?
Yeah, no, we've been keeping keeping things moving forward, and it's you got to take the good with the bad. The good is we get to see family. The bad is we don't get to travel so much, but you have to enjoy it where you can.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. I'm getting my jab this week. I'm a bit excited. I can't tell you. I in my mind, it's going to change everything, but I'm not so sure it will.
Depends. They keep moving those goalposts.
They do. Well, look, thanks for joining us again. It's been a while. We haven't spoken since October, actually. I know you've been up to a few things. A lot of things have happened. We've seen a few press releases. I want to get into that. That's what I'll be called. Okay, so, but before people who haven't heard this story before, can you give us a 1 minute overview of what you are, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, TriStar Gold, we're a single asset gold developer. We've got a fairly substantial gold project in Pará State, Brazil, which is moving towards a pre-feasibility completion this summer. Total resources are, pretty significant. 1.5 million ounces indicated and 700,000 ounces inferred. So, you can add them together. It's a decent sized project and in a good location. It's going to get built one day soon.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. Appreciate that. Since we last spoke, your shares were at 35 cents when we spoke, down to 25. You've been hammered, it seems. What's going on?
I don't really know. I think it's just the timing on the market. We've still got our eyes on the prize that we're working on. Nothing's changed internally for us. We're still drilling. We're still going to have this PFS out. We're still going to be moving this project forward to production. I really think it's just the time delays that we're seeing due to COVID. Labs are going slower. Drillers had to get shut down if they get COVID in. And, things that, like the PFS, supposed to have been ready in November last year. It's going to be July this year. Completely out of our control. But, 6 months in a lifetime isn't much. You just got to keep going, keep your eyes on what you want to achieve and get there.
So you still feel in control. You're where you want to be. That's what you're telling me.
Absolutely.
There have been some drill results out since we spoke. Are they what you expected to see? Because you were using this AI technology. You're telling me you're going to be, hitting gold every time.
Well, yeah, they are. So most of the results we put out had been the infill drilling. So we completed the infill drilling, and they were all where we expected to be. And our new resource, which we'll probably touch on shortly, is evidence of that. It's come in right where we wanted to be, slightly high grade. I was quite happy with that. And but out of the exploration we've done, we've only announced a dozen holes, and they've been okay as well. I mean, they've all hit something, first round exploration, and we've done. I think out of exploration, we've got a 20,000 meter budget. We've done like 1,500 meters, and we've probably announced 1,000 of them so far. That's all so far.
So, I mean, your share price is what, 58 million bucks this morning, Canadian, right? And you're about to deliver PFS this summer. It's kind of like the market doesn't really care about your story anymore. Is that what you're feeling?
I don't know. It's frustrating. When we look at it, we've done a peer review, price to NAV. We were slightly towards the lower end of where we'd be on the 0.1, 0.2 times price to NAV for a PEA scoping level company. When you look at pre-fees, that usually re-rates up to about 0.5 times NAV, and so we're starting to promote, okay, this is going to be happening really, really soon now. I mean, we've got the resource out, that's done. It's in the market. We would expect that re-rate, but I can't explain why other than that there's going to be a reduced share price, but everything is going really, really well.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just trying to work it out because let's tell us about the resource and maybe I'll pick up with some thoughts I have.
Yeah. So as we said, we did the 20,000 meters of infill drilling. Prior to that, we'd had 1.3 million ounces of inferred resources and 700,000 ounces of indicated. I think the inferred resource was at 1 gram before, the indicated was at 1.2 or 1.3, something like that. And the idea of doing our infill was to switch that around and get to 1.3 indicated, 700,000 inferred. We've actually done most of the infill drilling, and we've actually got a little bit more to come still, but just with the delays in the labs, we thought, okay, let's not wait for all of it. Let's, truth is we did an internal check and we did it. It was like, okay, it's looking good. Let's go. But we've got it now to 1.5 million ounces of indicated. So it actually slightly exceeded expectations. The grade stayed up, still at 1.2 grams a ton. And, remember we're getting 98% recovery. So we're recovering all of that. And we got 700,000 ounces of inferred. So without doing really step out drilling, we have actually gained a couple of 100,000 ounces on the project overall. And, so that is now the basis of our PFS, although there is more drilling to come into it. So we expect it to sneak up a little bit more, but not a huge amount more. And so that's one sort of checkbox off of the risk list taken, can you infill this and does it hold together and does the grade hold together? And it's coming really good. And this model is the first one we've done, most of it based on the AI. The AI has been really useful in building this model.
And again, if I look at the charts, and the only chart that matters to me as an investor is, what's the share price? It just didn't resonate with the market. It's like no one understood what you were saying. Yeah.
It's frustrating. Yeah. It's frustrating. We're starting to do a lot of marketing now, and every time we speak to someone, they understand the project, they like it. I still think it's the trading volume that gets us. You get one group because we have got an older shareholder base. You get one guy selling 1 million shares. It doesn't take much to knock it down,
And what about?
That's the only thing I think of.
Well, what do you think? Sorry, I interrupted.
I'll say that's the only thing I can think of. With an older shareholder base, you get someone with a block of 1 million shares or something, which isn't a huge amount. It doesn't take much to hold the share price down, but the value is still there. The PFS is coming. We're going to get there,
So tell me, do you think?
And we do get a lot of interest.
You do
with the corporates these days.
Yeah, but you've got to be a certain size, and you've got to have a certain amount of liquidity for them to get serious about it. Okay, so you need to do something. So do you think a little bit of it is the Quinton Henning fan club thinking, well, he's gone, must be a problem with this thing?
There could be a little bit of that because Quinton's is a fantastic geologist and a great mine finder or a prospector explorationist, and people who do follow him around. With us, he's off of our board. He is still on our advisory committee. Him and I are still great friends, but with us, it's a maturing of the company going from exploring to a serious development asset. So. Yeah, it was a shame to lose Quinton off the board, but in reality, he can't help us now because we're beyond what he does. And then you got to look at who we replace him with. Mark Isto, has run some of the larger open pit gold mines in North America in his time at Placer Gold. He's a mining engineer. He's hands-on. He's very, very technical at developing and running mines. And his knowledge base and his as the CEO of Royal Gold right now. Is going to be incredibly useful as well. So, we did, lose Quinton off the board, but we've replaced him with at least an equal match for the stage we're at now.
How do you reward someone like that? How do you even attract someone like that? Because Mark is, his reputation precedes him, obviously. He's fit for purpose here, but again, size, company of your size, it can't be that interesting to him, can it?
No, this is the only one he's gone on. With the only junior board he's gone on, it's purely, he knows the project. But I think it's more the people, the personal connections as well. He knows myself. He knows my CFO. He knows what I'm doing to get him in trouble. And he has faith that, okay, this is a good project that's going to come, going to come through and going to shine. So it's nice to come in, as you said, well, the price is low. We'll do this, we'll build this, we'll work on this, and we'll move it up and and come out looking good, But yeah, Mark is very selective. This is the only junior board he's gone on.
Okay. And how do you incentivize someone like him? Does that cost a lot of money?
No. It's a the same option package as the other directors get. That's it. We can't afford to actually pay for what they're worth, for what someone like Mark is worth, or actually, I should talk. We had Jessica and we had Eric Zanschaub as well join us as well, and the same things. They're all very, very good. I didn't mention, I think Eric joined us in December. He was the head analyst at Canaccord, and again, was in that position. You can imagine how many projects he got to see, how many executive teams he got to see, and he's selectively chosen a few boards to come on, and we're one of them. It's awesome, And then we had Jessica van den Akker join us as well. And Jessica's not as well known, but she is probably the best auditor, accounting mind that we've come across, myself and Scott, in our careers. And we needed a strong chair of the audit committee. For us internally, it's good to have someone who checks on what executives are doing. You need a strong audit committee. So that is really, really strengthened the board. But yeah, to attract those people, you can't do it with money. I mean, we haven't got enough money to do it. It's purely they've got to have an association with the executive team, with the other board members, and a belief in the project.
Okay. I think that's important that you explain that, because it just felt like it was bringing the boys club here just to kind of pay each other lots of money. But I know Eric, we've interviewed him, solid, really, really, really strong. Mark, obviously reputation precedes him, etc. So is it a case of it was the time to switch from explorer type description into, well, we now need to develop this thing, and that hence the amount of new names and faces?
Yeah, it was just, as a junior explorer type of board. And I think if you're building something, okay, you're going to build a board. Okay, where do we want this company to be? We want it to be up here. That company needs a board of this level. So let's get that now. Let's, always be looking and just build this company to where we want it to be. Like we're working on the project, we're doing the big resource, the big pre-feasibility study, the board. Hopefully all of this, the work that's building this good big company will then, drag the share price along with it as well. And people recognize that, wow, you got very, clever, very experienced people are recognizing something in this, and the project's moving forward. We better get in.
Right. Well, it can do. It's a question of helping the market understand what those clever, experienced people with a track record are actually going to do for you, because there's so many other companies out there that just have the boys club where you're just kind of giving each other these non-exec positions. No one really does anything. No one actually turns up, quite frankly. So let's go to that. So, and I know we've talked about it in the past, but for people who haven't seen us or interview before, is what are these people going to do? What are the next steps? We've got the PFS coming up, but then so what after that? What happens?
Okay. Or just one thing on there's sort of two questions there. So what they can do, I mean, these guys, both Mark, Jessica, and Eric are they've only been board members a little while, but they've been very active. We're pushing a lot now on the ESG, which is a big issue, and most junior explorers give lip service to only. But we've got a vice president of sustainability. Eric is very strong on the ESG, so we've got a sustainability committee on the board, which is active now. So that, there's a lot of work that goes on in the background to make sure, again, that this is a company acting properly.
And that's important. Why? Yeah. Explain why you think that's important.
It's important why, because if we do get to a point where a bigger company is going to come in and look at us and say, okay, we want this project, they don't want to buy any risk. They don't want to okay, there's 1 million ounces in the ground, but there's going to be community issues, there's land issues, there's environmental issues. If we can show that that's all been dealt with, and we can demonstrate that can be dealt with, that adds huge value at that point down the road there. And so that's why, obviously we're doing it because we want to do the right thing as well, but that's where the value comes into it, is when we go and when a big company goes, yeah, we can see right from the board down to the ground, you've been doing all of this right. You've done your community work right, and you've demonstrated, and you've got it. You can prove it to us. And same with the environmental, and the same with your internal issues. We're not going to get hit with big lawsuits or anything. Nobody wants to buy risk these days. They're all very, very risk averse.
Well, not with some of the stories coming out of South America at the moment. It seems. I'm talking about our friends down in Mexico. So that's the kind of there's a dollar value attributed to that work. So come back to the second part of my question earlier, which was you're doing a PFS. So what? So what next? How does this thing move forward?
So that's one of the big questions for us. So like we are speaking to a few of the corporates now. The PFS will provide us with a go decision to construction and to permitting, because this is such a simple project that it's not going to be there's half a dozen trade-offs that have to be completed in the final fees. The final fees will be done, but it'll be just infill drilling to get up to measured resources. The process itself, all permitting is kicking off from the pre-fees. So this is a point where we go, okay, we will plan to take it forward to engineering and a fully permitted project. We'll budget that, we'll plan that, we'll start that. But we will also reach out to a few obvious candidates and say, okay, this is where we are now, and this is where we're going. Do you want to be involved later on, or do you want to have a look at us now? So we will start to get those questions out there and to see if anyone wants to come in. Because, I've said before, I think, we've got a limit on where we can take it, which is sort of the beginning of basic engineering and a permitted project. So someone else has got to come in, whether it's where they come in at that point or now. We're open. It's just a price issue. So.
Well, correct. If they come in now, you're going to turn them away, right?
Yes. No, absolutely. So yeah, no, exactly. So, we want to be well over where we are now, but we do want to get them interested now, so we are, sort of speaking to people, but not as negotiations or anything. We just want to make sure that the right people know this project exists.
Right. Are there some natural partnerships in the region or in the state? When we look at companies, it seems to be, occasionally there's some names that it would make a lot of sense for them to get together. I mean, have you thought about it from that perspective? Have you got some names in your mind already?
Yeah. No, there's half a dozen, 6 to 8 companies that are in the mid-tier range who are in Brazil and active, and this would be a manageable but significant asset for them to add on, and a very logical one for them to add on. So yes, there are juniors where you could do a merger of equals. I mean, that's never quite as, that's probably a tier 2 option for us, because then you get 2 companies which go to build mines or something like that, but yeah, no, there's some very obvious candidates, but also I think we're getting to the stage now where, if we can show that here's a PFS, it's going to produce 150,000 ounces a year for 8 years, and all of this exploration which we're doing, which we haven't touched on, we're still doing the 20,000 meters of exploration outside of the PFS to show what else is there. You might be able to get a pretty good indication. Okay, 150,000 ounces a year, 8 years is, being de-risked rapidly, but there's a lot more. That's getting big enough for a mid-tier company to come in from outside of Brazil easily as well.
Can you explain what you meant by the headline of the most recent article, March 16th, which is TriStar doubles indicated resource as drilling continues?
Well, our indicated resources were at 700,000 ounces previously to this, and they're now at 1.5 million ounces. So it's like I said, we were trying to get to 1.3, but it went overshot, got to 1.5. But it's always a little tricky with a 43 and a 1, never been allowed to add indicated and inferred together. So you've got to always speak about them separately. None of the investors do. They all add them together and say, hey, you've got to, and I'm like, yeah, but I can't say that. So that's where that comes from. So it's the 700,000 to 1.5 million ounces of indicated resources.
Question sent in. I thought I'd get you to just answer it. And also hole 49, you had to, no, so which hole? You had a hole which you only had to went down to 49 meters, I think, and had to abandon it. What was the technical issue, or what was going on there?
Yeah, probably a lot of water. You get certain areas there. If you hit really high water flows, it gets challenging to drill. So we, I don't know, 1 in 15 holes or something like that, or 1 in 10 holes, we would lose through the high water pressures, especially if we're doing exploration in lower areas. So you're getting sort of further down the water table. and you go to a new area, we don't know what to expect.
You're not drilling too deep, are you? It's all pretty shallow stuff.
No, water's a lot of water there.
Right.
So.
Okay. How much cash have you got left?
$9 million US.
Okay.
So we're in a good position there.
Right. So you're fine to get the PFS done. And where you can make some decisions. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
No pressure on that front whatsoever.
No. I mean, that'll get us through until at least mid next year with the planned work we have here right now. So at some point we'll be looking for we'll look for more, but we'll just work out what we're going to do. As I said, budget that engineering and permitting activities into next year and see where we're at then.
So I get the labs are kind of running slightly behind across the board there. So that stymies your information, your communication somewhat coming into the marketplace. But what else are you going to do? Because but putting out one press release a month is kind of not really kind of doing it for people, it seems. How are you going to get front of shop compared to your peers?
I mean, we just did one of the Asia Pacific conference last week. I was on night shifts doing that. I think now with this coming out,
what did that do for you?
We start to follow up this week, so we'll see. It was it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, because it was all on Hong Kong time. We did 40 one-on-one meetings. They've supplied the contact details hopefully today. Then we do the follow-up and see. It's a great conference for us in a lot of ways because the 40 meetings, I think there's only 2 people I'd ever met before. Because it's all Hong Kong and Perth based, and but they knew what they were doing when they took the call, so they were all very interested. It was a great meeting. So we'll follow up with that. There's a lot of money out down there, a lot of money which seems to maybe not want to be in Hong Kong these days. So it might be a very interesting time to be talking to those guys. But apart from that, now we'll have, where we'll be having a press release fairly soon again on exploration results. We have got some, we wanted to separate that line of releases from the pre-feasibility. And we'll have more pre-feasibility stuff coming up over the next months, more exploration. But as I said, the exploration is a little slow. So it'll be a lot more digital marketing. We have got our marketing budget for the year. We have held it back for the first couple of months due to the slower news. We sort of turned the taps on last week with this release. So we will see Google ads. You'll see more us at more conferences now, and see where we get to.
Okay. Well, I look forward to.
Yeah, without the travel, we're all trying to work out the best way to get in front of people.
Well, yeah, and you're all using the same stuff, and you're all saying the same things, and that's the problem. The differentiation for us poor mugs trying to work out of all of these companies saying the same things, who do we believe, and where do we place our bets? So, what do you think it's going to take? Do you think we're going to have to wait for the PFS before people really start paying attention to this story, or do you think you've got more to tell between now and then?
We will be obviously telling a lot more before now and then. We'll be pushing that out. I think junior developers, generally do sort of drift and then move on major events. That's a pretty major event. It should be a major re-rate. I think people will start to come in before that. I think the fact that it was supposed to be out in November last year and it didn't. People are going, just watching. And, like you said, there's so many stories out there, so many people saying stuff and they said this and it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. It's just COVID. It's late. We will make sure people are up to speed that it is coming, if there's, and we'll make sure that gets out. If there are contrarian investors out there, compared to our peers, we represent extremely good value. We have a PFS coming out. None of them have something coming out in the near future, which is going to be such a big re-rating opportunity. Our price right now is low. There's major value coming. It really, really is something we should be looking at, and everybody should be looking at from an investment point of view.
I appreciate that. This probably isn't where you want it to be or expected it to be now, given the amount of work that you put into this. And I can see in relation to the peers, perhaps you are a little bit undervalued. We'll certainly have a look. But I appreciate your time today. Stay in touch, more communication. Want to hear more from you. So pick up the phone, let us know how you're getting on, okay?
Okay, right. Thank you very much. Good day.